What's up guys, BltzZ here today bringing you another video. In today's video we have a theory that I found super interesting and I wanted to hear you guys' thoughts on it and also help me piece together parts that might be missing from it. Shoutouts to Stygian Stilettos Gamer for bringing this to my attention. Follow her on Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch at Stygian Stilettos Gamer. Her links are in the description and pinned in the comments below. She asked me if I heard anything about this, and to be honest, I really haven't. And I've been blown away by it, thinking about all the possibilities from what it could mean or represent. Lots of games have Easter eggs or hints developers place within to have fun with the community and see who comes across it. This one at first is pretty vague, but after doing a bit of deeper dive into it, it could be very symbolic if anything. Also, spoiler alert warning for the original Final Fantasy VII story, as well as Final Fantasy VII Remake. We talk about some big story reveals for both games and late game situations. This is your final warning before we get into some mind-blowing cheek-clapping talks. Now, with all that being said, let's get into the video. Final Fantasy VII Remake is without a doubt a sequel. Sequel in hiding more like, but that's for another discussion. Remake features certain characters who are very well aware of the original game and the events that occur within it. From Sephiroth and Aerith basically knowing all of which is going on and what supposedly is going to be happening. In Chapter 2, when Cloud is walking through the streets of Midgar right after blowing up the reactor with Avalanche, there is a sign in the street which points you towards the direction that you need to go. This sign reads D31, possibly for District 31, West 43rd Street, Y7 Street, Sector 8 Station, and City Hall. Seems like a regular sign with nothing special, right? But Stygian did some digging and found that if you look closely at the timeline of Final Fantasy VII, the story of Final Fantasy VII OG starts December 9th. That's the day Cloud, Barret, and Avalanche blow up the Maka Reactor 1. And now when you look up the final day of Final Fantasy VII, when Jenova, Sephiroth, and Meteor were defeated, that date is January 21st. From December 9th to January 21st is 43 days total, which West 43 seems to pinpoint or represent. So looking at this could basically be telling us that the story that we're going to be experiencing, or the story path that we should be on, would be 43 days worth. Okay. Now, look at the Y7th Street. And then we think, okay, 7. Final Fantasy VII does have lots of themes of 7. But what if the Y in symbolism means year, and 7 is, well, year 7? Okay, slowly but surely you see where this is going, right? Looking at the calendars of the Final Fantasy VII universe, 7 is the official year of when Final Fantasy VII OG takes place. Specifically, 0007, 3 zeros and a 7. So far, we can look at this as starting on December 9th in the year of 7 and ending 43 days from then, January 21st, is the story of Final Fantasy VII. Now, the only question mark we have now is the D31. Now, this could mean many things. The first thing that came to mind for me was that 31 days from now, something happens, which would be January 9th. But then Stygian mentioned that there is actually no specific date for when Aerith dies. Could it mean that December 31st is when Aerith dies? Or that 31 days from now, Aerith will die? 31 days from now seems possible, and by all means could very well be the case. Because looking at the timeline online, January 14th is when Diamond Weapon attacks Midgar and Shinra launches a beam through its chesticles. This is very difficult to pinpoint too, because the only other mention of time is after Cloud gives Sephiroth the black materia and Tifa passes out. When she awakens, Barret tells her that she has been asleep for 7 days. But if December 31st is when Aerith dies, and assuming Cloud giving Sephiroth the black materia is within 24 hours of that, Tifa would have woken up around January 6th or 7th, because Barret does say she was KO'd for about 7 days, nothing specific. So let's say she wakes up January 7th, then 1 week later, January 14th, is when Diamond Weapon attacks Midgar, correct? Would you guys agree that the events between January 7th to January 14th could properly include these events, such as Tifa taking over the party, finding Cloud in Mideel, Tifa leaving the party, then Sid taking over, and doing the huge materia arc, returning to Cosmo Canyon to talk with Bugenhagen and learn more about the huge materias, then returning to Mideel and Ultimate Weapon attacking, which breaks the island. Then Cloud and Tifa are forced to go through their soul-searching event together, and then once they both rejoin the party, we finally finish up the huge materia arc, Then Diamond Weapon would take place after that on January 14th. To me, it feels like these events could very well take up 1 week. What do you guys think in the comments below? The dates get really jumbled up here, so we can't really exactly pinpoint the date unless one of you guys in the comments can help us out and let me know. There is one other detail on the sign that we can see if we look closely. It's that Hojo has left his insignia on the bottom right, and if Cloud moves in a specific angle, we can see it a little bit more clearly. Okay, no, I'm kidding. Really, it says that 21.6% of people that watch and love these videos are currently subscribed. Guys, hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss out on this giveaway we have going on right now. We're giving away a PC copy of Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate for the Epic Game Store. We have 2 codes left, so you have 2 more chances to win Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate for PC. Being a YouTube member or a Twitch subscriber or a Patreon member will get you 1 entry to win. But doing all 3 increases your chances times 3 and gives you higher odds of winning it. Be sure to do that today because we're giving away a code next time we are live. Now let's get back into the video. So the reason why any of this interests me or is remotely important somewhat is because of the placement of this sign. This is chapter 2, basically the beginning of the game. Everything that occurs in chapter 1 is all very much the same from the original Final Fantasy VII story. Even the moments where Cloud is placing the bomb, he has a headache, and that was straight up from the original game, minus the black feather from Sephiroth dropping in the distance. But that's just our first sign of weird things to come, just to let us, the viewers, know. It's not until chapter 2 where things start to act up really for us. Now back to the sign. So all the directions of this sign point towards the right, which is the direction that we need to go. And things seem to be going on that same track until we try to cross the bridge to follow Jessie. The bridge breaks and Cloud is forced to take another path. This also could be the very first interaction the Whisperers have with Cloud, if you think about it. I mean, we can't see them yet, but the Whisperers have done things like this and taken charge in scenes to keep things on the same path, even though people cannot see them or what's going on. Right after this, Cloud experiences the very first dramatic big change from the story. We meet Sephiroth, someone who we don't see or know what he looks like until a flashback story event occurs outside of Midgar, where Cloud is telling the party his story from Calm. Sephiroth meeting with Cloud here is super important because right after this scene, the Advent Children song plays and we make our way into the direction that Aerith is currently in. And when we finally come across Aerith, she's fighting off Whispers. Now, why would the Whispers be attacking her? Well, because Sephiroth just went and tried to stall us. Maybe Aerith was trying to leave and carry on with her night, but the Whispers held her in place to keep her from moving so that she can meet Cloud and interact with him. So I think we were on our way to continue with the original story that we all know and love, but Sephiroth, trolling his cloak cheek clappers, had to come and throw a monkey wrench in all of it. The Whispers are supposed to be a defense mechanism for the planet, correct? They exist to keep the story elements going in the same direction so that the outcomes from the original game occur the very same way. I talked about this in another video before, but what if the Whispers are only keeping us going on the same path for the OG story because the OG story is technically the bad timeline for the humans, but the good ending for the planet? Let me elaborate. At the end of the game, when we were fighting the Harbingers, we get a glimpse of Red 13 running with his children, and we see the city of Midgar in ruins with a lot of vegetation. This is a shot that we saw before in the original Final Fantasy VII game at the very end. And again, we see this shot in the beginning of Advent Children, the movie. Red 13 says in Remake, this vision is a glimpse of our future if we fail here today. So now, here's my thought process, so humor me for a second. What if the original Final Fantasy VII story was us failing because 500 years from now, human civilization is wiped out, humans would not have been able to recover from the geostigma spreading for long periods of time, and eventually everyone just died out? Because even in our world, humans are sort of a virus or a plague to the planet. Think about it. Last year alone during the pandemic, when we were all stuck in our homes and couldn't really go anywhere, we started to see nature run its course and animals started to appear more because they didn't really have to hide from us since we weren't really out and about. Lots of pop culture things have references about the damage we as humans do to the planet, and even though we make efforts now to take care of it, there still has been tons of damage inflicted. from the way that we eat, the amount of fossil fuels we consume, the land and oceans that we pollute and cut down. These things can just go even further. We are doing a better job now, yes, but for quite a while we were not. Our existence is only a fraction of the amount of time that the world has been active, really. And this is why I like Final Fantasy VII, because there are so many deep meanings behind these things and the way that the game reflects our world. Now, ironically, I mean, Square Enix themselves has become Shinra though. And now going back to the ending of Final Fantasy VII Original, when we see the shot of Red 13 running with his children, and then we see the city of Midgar is now like filled with trees and vegetation. The ending does have children laughing too in the original game. At the end of the game, if you stay until the title fades. But what if this was actually Red 13's kids or grandkids laughing? Or it could be the planet itself laughing, because many times throughout the game, it has been described as the planet still being a kid in many ways, mostly by Sid. You know, symbolism, right? So I think the party will eventually have to find a way to overcome the original ending by defeating our enemies in a different way. Or it could just mean that people are more aware of the planet and caring, so Midgar was abandoned because of the nasty history of what it represents, and also what it has done to the planet, and people have changed their ways to find a better way to live and take care of the planet. But what do you guys think about all of this? So many things to consider, and the answers will only really start to come our way once we get more parts of the story out for us to play eventually when Remake Part 2 drops. Because of, you know, the lack of timeline tracking for the original game, it does make things a little bit difficult. But please help me out with the sign and its symbolism for what D31 could mean. I would love to read what you guys all think in the comments below, so we can come across an answer for this, at least, so my mind can stop racing. Be sure to like the video if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you are new. More Final Fantasy VII videos are coming your way, and you won't want to miss them. My name is BltzZ, and thanks for watching.